I don't know. That's good. Could you get a couple hymnals? Bring a couple hymnals up here? Right, straight away. Got it. I will. Just, well, you can welcome everybody and then I'll jump in.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is our meeting for the questions and answers of the potential merger with New Life. And Jeremy.
Face it toward you.
Facing.
There.
There we go. There we are. So we're live stream, by the way. So anytime that you have a question, we'll either pass the mic around or you can come up here and ask questions. We're going to have Josiah Job will be coming a little bit later, I think around 10:30 or so. We're going to review the questions that were answered by New Life already, but we'll review them, see if there's any other comments on that. We're going to get started. The pastor's going to lead us in prayer, and then we're going to get started. And I think I have a hymn, right? Okay.
One of my favorite verses is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And my first context in learning that verse well, I'm sure I had read through it at Moody, going through your synthesis of the Old Testament, New Testament, but it hit home as it applied to students because they're in such a volatile time of life, so much going on around them, they needed to know that God was on their side. And he has a plan. But it applies to us too. And I think today, that's a good day to cling to a verse and promise like that. That God has a plan here, and his plans including prospering us and not harming us, giving us a hope and a future. And we need to rely upon his promises, regardless of what my plan is or anybody else's plan is. God has a plan, and I need to be good with that because he knows what's best for me. And so I would like us to sing, Great is Thy Faithfulness, and number 43 in the hymnal, but we'll just sing it a cappella. Yeah. I remember, never mind. Going to my old stories. And I'll let you remain seated. So, hymn number 43. Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. summer and winter and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, thy own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow, blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Let's pray. Father, we come before you today seeking your blessing on our desire to move forward and continue to preach the gospel here. And our desire is to seek your leading and guiding. And we don't want to get out in front of you. We don't want to be behind you. We want to be right alongside you, Lord. So guide us, guide our conversations today. Help them to be glorifying to you. And Lord, thank you for the salvation we have because of Jesus Christ. And thank you that you have given us the privilege of sharing that with a world that desperately needs to know you. And that's what matters to us, Lord, building your kingdom and drawing people to you. And so guide us in our efforts to do that. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, let me get their clicker here. Thought we could review the questions and answers that were sent out and see if there's any other clarification that you need. We do have 3 representatives from New Life with us that will be willing to speak and share with us their insight as well. And then I think Josiah is joining us at about 10:30. So we'll just go through these. We're not gonna. What's that? Oh yeah. Why don't you introduce yourself, and Aaron, and yeah, make room here.
Good morning, everybody. We'll make room here. We'll just make some introductions here, if that's okay. My name is Dan Leverance, and I am the executive pastor at New Life. So one of the great blessings and privileges for me is that I get to serve and help to support all of the New Life locations. So my office is at Midway, and that's where I spend my days. My family, today is actually my 28th anniversary, so my wife and I are celebrating today. And we have one son who we adopted from Ethiopia. He's 16 years old. He's a football player, and they crushed the opponent last night, so that was very exciting. But we attend the Midway location, and again, like I mentioned, I have the blessing of being able to serve and come alongside all of the New Life locations. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm very happy to be here with you this morning.
Good
morning. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you all. My name is Aaron Kennedy. I am one of the pastors at New Life Community Church, Oak Lawn. We have an Oak Lawn location not too far from here, and it's been just an honor to serve the body of believers at New Life Oak Lawn. I have been walking with the Lord for over 20 years, so I'm just so grateful to be part of the family of God. I have a wife. I've been married for 12 years. We have an 11-year-old son who just started 6th grade, and he was so excited. He woke up at 5 a.m. and said, "I'm going to be a 6th grader." So I am thankful for my family. I've been part of New Life Community Church for about 3 years, and it has just been a wonderful experience to build and grow with everybody within the family of God. So it's a pleasure to be with you. Oh, and by the way, I also am, like Pastor, is a Moody graduate as well, too. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you all.
You want me to take the microphone?
Good morning. My name is Tim McKeown.
Questions?
My wife and I have been at New Life Oak Lawn since March of 2017 and have served the elder position since then. By God's grace and mercy, we celebrated our 40th anniversary on August 23rd. Praise God. And I came to know the Lord when I was in our premarital counseling, so I've been walking with the Lord for approximately 40 years. Grateful to be here this day. My wife Connie and I had actually met Steve and John and Dave a couple years ago with Hope Johnson, and so we kind of started relationships back then. So grateful to be here and looking forward to what the Lord has for us.
Want to have a seat here?
Okay, so we're going to start with the slide presentations, and we'll just go through there. And if you guys have any questions, John has the mic. If you want to ask additional questions that might be related to those, and then we'll go through any other things that you might have, okay? So, let's see. Of course it's not working.
I love technology.
All right, oh, because it's not on.
Been there. You're not used to being on this side.
No, you're right. I gotta hold this up too. That's what we got. Well, yeah. BIM, can you just advance it with the mouse? All right.
It wouldn't be Bethel without a glitch here.
Oh, we gotta have glitches.
I think that's everywhere.
I just checked it this morning too, so just advance it to the next slide with the mouse, the red mouse. Well,
No. The
no,
computer's back there.
no, that's not what you do. You just... No, it was working this morning, so turn it off,
See, this is how we're delaying.
We're just,
Yeah, well, one way or another, we're gonna delay this. All right,
Is it your
I'm
fat,
gonna let you fill out.
your fat fingers, maybe?
All right, let me go back there real quick.
A lot of Tims in my family. Just say Tim, everybody comes. Yes.
Well, you have no questions about those questions. That was the envelope that was passed out last Sunday. They're not autographed, but They can be afterwards if. In pencil.
Okay, here we go again. So Bethel's statement was, we are intending to bring this before the church body. That's what we're doing now. And you're here, so I don't think we have anything to talk about that. And lo and behold, you're here.
Happy to be.
So we're thankful for that. So let's see, what do we have anything else, at least in advance before the, okay, second request. Since we are in leadership, we're quite a bit unsure as to what to expect in the procedural process and requirements of New Life. We are requesting additional meeting with New Life, and we did that last Monday, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, so we met Dan and Josiah and Aaron and all the other folks that were with us there, and their legal department. So we did that, and they met with us. And let's see, October 14th. Yeah. So now we first met with who was it?
Pastor Mark.
Pastor Mark Job. Boy,
It's right up there.
Oh, Mark Job. Oh, yeah. Pastor Mark Job initially. He came the week before, and we talked to him. And he gave us a general philosophy of New Life and what they're trying to accomplish, and in keeping churches such as ourselves that are struggling through, an aging problem, and the fact that their desire is they have a twofold approach to spreading the gospel in the community. One is a brand new start, and then they have churches that are going through what we're going through, where we're having declining resources of people and aging population, which we fit into, and declining numbers, and they do a restart. So they're bringing in resources and people and try to address, just cosmetics of the church as well to be attractive. And so he explained all that to us as well as what they're trying to accomplish. So that's when we agreed to go ahead and meet with the rest of the group as well. There's third question. How is the leadership of New Life organized as a larger institution? Are there elders and deacons assigned or voted upon in each local body? How is the accountability process determining the leadership as a whole? Josiah's answer was New Life is led by the lead pastor, who serves alongside a 5-person directional leadership team, which functions as a head leader, elder team. There are multiple layers of leadership, accountability, and checks and balances within New Life. Each location also develops local pastors who serve alongside the location pastor. With a new and restarting location, we typically take our time establishing that team so we can identify the right leaders rather than rush in the process. There's more detail we can talk through together in person, but there'd be clear leadership, oversight, and accountability from the beginning. Is there any questions concerning that aspect? Alex? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. This is on stream because we want others to be able to hear your question. And we're not going to deal with that one either. Boy.
It's the green mic that was up front. No, I'm telling it. BIM. No.
You
Oh. Here you go. Here you go. We got one. Short arms.
All right.
All right, so do we know who is going to be the locational pastor here already, or
Hello. Yeah. So Pastor Josiah Job is going to be the lead pastor of this location. He's going to be the main preacher and teacher, and I will also be alongside of him, also preaching as well and serving this local body as well as a pastor.
All right, thank you.
Question, fourth question, what is the process of the centralization and distribution of funds? How is the fiscal responsibility and accountability determined independent or in-house accounting? And their response was, each New Life location contributes 20% of the general giving to help fund or our central ministries and services which exist to serve, boy, I have a hard time reading it myself, to serve and support all our locations. This helps provide things such as accounting and financial services, HR, administration, communications, technology systems, organizational support, church planting, and other shared resources that our locations benefit from. The remaining 80% stays with the local location to fuel its ministry. Continue on that. And the location pastor is given significant discretion to determine how those resources are best used based on the needs and opportunities of that congregation. We provide support and accountability, but generally do not want to overmanage local ministry decisions. Every location operates within New Life's financial system and is expected to be fiscally responsible. We have a centralized accounting team as well as an outside financial oversight, including an annual external audit. Is there any comments on that? Any questions? Okay. Evelyn?
John?
John? Pay attention.
Evelyn?
Evelyn? All right, speak directly to the mic.
So 80% stays with the local congregation, 10% goes to central,
20.
20.
just a minute, 10% goes for central services, 5% for building churches, 5% for foreign missions. That's what I heard on the videos. Is that correct currently?
It is.
Ooh, boy,
The
bad snapping.
within that 20%, we are not dollar for dollar strict in terms of that 10%, 5%, 5%. The 20% as a whole goes to fund anything centrally, but yes, it does include New Life Cities, which is what we call our kind of missions arm of New Life Church, where there are churches across the world in different countries that we support. And yes, like when we do set aside and reserve funds for restarts and things like that.
How would you describe more so the 5% that goes to what on the video was called foreign missions?
Yeah, that would be largely what we call New Life Cities. And New Life has missionaries that we support really in the form of local church pastors in other countries. Spain, oh my goodness. Do you remember all of the different countries? Yeah,
I think there was one in Africa,
yeah,
wasn't there?
Spain, Africa, South America. I mean, there are Mexico, there are places all around the world that New Life supports. And it's mostly through local church ministry in those areas.
Okay, we have, FYI, a young Moody grad couple who is involved with building churches in Mexico,
Oh, cool.
that there are missionaries, so something to think about
Yeah,
for future for support for them.
yeah, that's great.
I'm wondering too, for that 80% that stays with the local congregation, are there any restrictions that the top of New Life would impose, or are they autonomous?
New Life's locations they are given a lot of autonomy, and that response there, I mean, really, we do trust our location pastors with that 80% of, their budget to use it how they see fit. Now, we do have a system of checks and balances, and if we ever noticed that a location pastor or one of our locations was that there was the perception maybe that they were mismanaging those funds, then we would definitely step in and have a conversation about that. And there are checks and balances even in our leadership structure that help with that. So every one of our location pastors has, well, we mentioned that there's a 5-person directional team. There's every one of our location pastors also has what's called a shepherding lead, which is so that they are able to have a space where they can process the personal demands of ministry and life, and they're all able to share what's going on in their lives in a safe space. They also have a strategic coach, and those strategic coaches are there so that if there is something, like a perceived financial mismanagement or something that seems questionable on any level, their strategic coaches on the front lines of dealing with that with those locations. But largely, there is a lot of autonomy, and Pastor Aaron could probably even share more about that because he is one of the specific location pastors, and he could give insights on what kind of freedom he has within that framework.
So if a local congregation wanted to support a missionary or more from their 80%, is that an option?
That's a great question. I believe that we have, I may have to get back to you on that, or Pastor Josiah, when he gets here, we may want to reserve that question for him. We do have some locations who choose to give support to, usually it's in the form of short-term missions giving, like if there are students going on missions trips or a student going to YWAM or something like that. That would be an interesting question to ask Pastor Josiah, though. I'm not sure that I know the answer to that. Now, the other thing that I would say is that congregation members are still free to support whichever missionaries that they choose to support through their giving, and we would encourage that. I mean, New Life loves missions. We love making sure that the gospel is being spread to the corners of the earth, and so we want to make sure that in anything and everything that we do, that we make space for that. But when he gets here, let's come back to that question about whether or not a specific location can support a specific missionary with that 80% of their discretionary income.
Okay, and then I'll have an add-on question when he answers that.
Yeah, great. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next question. Oh, well, we have another one. Madeline, sorry.
Hello. Hey, so I was wondering, so each because we are not like a rental, we would be a church that you would own, right? So are we going to have a budget, like if we have, so we will in this exact church have Awana, whatever the different ministries?
Yeah.
Okay, and are we able to talk about that, like discuss that as a group before it's made, or does just the elders decide that?
No, it's something that we as a church can come and talk about. What were some ministries that would be impactful for and allow us to reach the community with the gospel of Jesus Christ? So in regards to Awana, we have Awana already. We have Awana at our Midway location. It's very vibrant and robust. And so that's something that we believe could continue to thrive here as well. So, yeah.
Okay, any other?
Can I add to that?
Oh, absolutely.
Another thing that may be helpful to know is that, again, New Life is very intent on making sure that we have a lot of accountability built in. There are checks and balances for just about everything. And in terms of the way that budgets are built, even with locations, we mentioned that we have a yearly financial audit, and that's true in every location. The whole entire organization is subject to that audit. There is also a team of financial liaisons who are people that are not employed by New Life Church, but they are attendees, and they work with location pastors and the congregations to establish the location's budget. And then there is a finance committee, again, that is not New Life employee. There are some New Life employees that sit on that committee, but for instance, the CFO of Moody is part of that and attends New Life and is a part of that committee for us as well. So yes, I mean every New Life location is given the opportunity to create their own budget. They get a lot of help and support as they do that, and I don't know if that's helpful.
Another question?
Just a quick follow-up on that, just make sure I understand what you said. Would the congregation vote, or would they have a discussion and then the board would vote?
There would not be a congregational vote. New Life is not governed congregationally, but again, and many of us can attest to this, the voices of our elder teams, the voices of our congregation. I mean, Tim and Connie are part of that. Very, very, very important to the New Life leadership. So wouldn't be an official vote, but there would definitely be a lot of influence from the congregation.
Yeah. And I could just add, we do talk with the congregation, and we may get their opinions and inputs on different ministries that we believe would be beneficial for that particular location. And then we would basically meet. So at Oak Lawn, I typically would meet with the elder team, and we would discuss, certain projects and everything that we feel would be beneficial for reaching the community for Christ's sake. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Hey, there he is.
1 second, we're going to have Josiah Job come on up. All right, that's good.
I have a quick question. You know we're a congregational-led church.
How you doing this?
Do each individual churches have membership-type meetings where the next year's plan, we hope that New Life of Atlanta wants to do this. We would like to explore these ministries and have to do, are there annual or semi-annual or quarterly meetings with the congregation as to this is where we're headed, or we've got a new program going, and I'm just wondering if that type of thing takes place at each individual location.
Here, you have
Every location really handles that a little bit differently. We don't have a system of congregational, like a congregational meeting schedule where we say to every location, you need to do a congregational meeting once a quarter or twice a year on this schedule. Each location pastor gets the freedom to decide when and how they do that, and they make the decisions that way. But again, I know that this is very important to you all, and one of the things that I really appreciate and love about New Life is the collaborative spirit in which our leadership structure functions. Like we really put a lot of stock in the input that we get from the congregation, from the elder teams, from the other pastors, and there's a really beautiful spirit of collaboration that happens throughout our organization, especially amongst all the pastors as well. So.
Before we go further, I'd like Josiah, if you would, just or either Mike, and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit nervous, by the way, because I went downstairs first, and they were starting to say, "There's an artery. Do something with the artery." And I thought, "Oh no, what's going on?" Came at the wrong time in the meeting, so I just my apologies for being late. We had they told you we have our life groups or small groups. We have a conference today, so I was the speaker today at 9:30. So I finished at 10, a little bit after 10, and shot over here. So it's good to be with you guys. My name is Josiah. Been a Christian for a very long time. Been a pastor now. Been in ministry for 10 years. Pastor for 7 or 8 years. Married for 5. I remember that number. And the other fun thing to know about me, and if you want to pray for me in this, me and my wife have 3 boys, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And my wife is pregnant with another boy in January. So, yep. Yeah, so we are excited. My wife grew up in Evergreen. Her family lives 2 minutes down the street. We're there all the time. We were at Circle Park. We live 5 minutes away in Oak Lawn. We were at Circle Park yesterday and just with our boys hanging out and having a good time. So she worked at the park district right there. So she's pointing out all the spots, and this is this, and this is that. So, so my father's Mark Job. He founded the church. I felt a calling to be a pastor from a young age, but really wrestled with that, if you want me to be honest. Not because I saw a bad example, but because I just didn't know if I wanted the weight and life of a pastor. It's tough, right?
Amen.
So I went to Moody. My dad said, I was leading a ministry. My dad said, go to Moody for 1 year. Strengthen your faith. You're leading in the ministry already, and then you can go. And I was going to go to the Marines. And I went to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And at the end of it, I was still not planning on being a pastor. I said, I probably would go down a business route and love Jesus, serve in the church, but start a business and do that. And a guy named George Verwer, who led a ministry called Operation Mobilization, he passed away a few years ago. He preached a message and said, I don't remember the message, but I remember the call, and it was, trust God with your future. And I needed to hear that at that moment because I needed to lay that down before the Lord wherever he was going to lead me. And so stepped into ministry, took on a bunch of roles, never expected to be in the role that I'm at today as the lead pastor. It was never my dream. It was never my desire. So I've said yes with a very open hand, which has actually been a healthy and helpful thing for me because I don't feel like my identity is tied up in the role. I'm a third-generation pastor as well. So my grandfather and grandmother were raised in the Hammond, Hobart, Indiana area. And they came to know Christ in their high school years. They both went to go learn Spanish, went to go be missionaries in Chile and rode horseback village to village sharing the gospel. And then they said, there's a lot more Christians here than we thought. So they went to a place that's known as the Graveyard of Missionaries in Spain. My grandmother is still there. There's been several churches that have been planted there. My grandfather is dead and buried in, where he served his entire life. And so, I was telling a story this morning to all the leaders of just my grandfather's legacy. Wasn't a big church or a big ministry, but it was the way that he loved people. And that's what marked me the most. So, that's a little, there's more about me, but that's a little bit about me so you can get to know me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Josiah. All right, we're on question number 5. We're going through these. What kind of timeline do you anticipate or forecast after the church membership agrees to the merger? What is the estimated line-by-line procedure to go from introduction to full inculcation and incorporation into new life? And Josiah answered it this way, and we'll let you ask any other questions. Only the membership votes. Once the membership votes to move forward and the major requirements are satisfied, New Life is prepared to assume leadership responsibility for the location as soon as reasonably possible. Ideally, we would love to have the transition substantially completed by October 1st before Pastor Steve leaves. If something takes longer, we'll simply work through it together and keep moving forward. Okay, is there any other questions or comments on that response? Okay.
Do you guys think that you could give us more of an idea of what that's going to look like leading up to October 1st, of what's going to change, what starts to change first, and just how we're going to be led into that?
Sure. Yeah, we don't plan on making a bunch of big changes, before Pastor Steve. To us, it's coming in and learning the church and honoring Pastor Steve. We don't want to come in and take any, we know how humble he is, and, it's never been about him, but we really want to honor Pastor Steve on the way out. We know that's important to the church, and that's important to us because he served for 18 years faithfully here, sacrificed a lot, given a lot, and so there won't be a lot of big changes that happen before October. I don't know if they talked a little, my mind can always go in kind of strategy and all of that type of stuff, but getting to know the people here, the congregation here, the leaders here, what's important here. We don't come in and say, hey, we're going to do everything different. We come and learn, what is God already doing? God's at work here. He's been at work. He's at work in here. You guys have an amazing legacy of a church. I was talking with, he reached out to my father and then shot me a call yesterday, a guy named Jeff DeVries. And it was a great 30-minute conversation yesterday, and he was telling me about the story and the legacy of this church. It used to be a bar here, started in 1942, Then the church came, the expansions, his family, there's a room name downstairs and the impact. And so he was just telling me, man, I'm super excited for New Life. But he said this church has deeply impacted his life. So God's been at work here a long, long time. And we just want to come alongside to, bless and continue working alongside of you guys to reach this community known as the Village of Churches, but doesn't seem like it has a lot of really healthy, strong churches right now with a healthy, strong church reaching people around.
Yeah.
I was shocked by how many young families, by the way, just being at the park. I probably saw 10 moms walking around with their kids, and I thought, there's so many there's young families, I want to connect them into church, right? So that's my favorite place to evangelize to people is at the park, because parents with children are dying for adult conversation. So I get great inroads to Jesus at the park, so yeah.
It's on. All right. BIM, Alexander. Obviously, just to be at this place now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 representatives. What are some things that drew you to sense that, God was leading you in this direction for this place? Because there's a lot of churches that are going through similar processes as such, but I'm curious to know, what are some of the things that kind of drew you to even consider this and to make the investment time that you have thus far?
We try to discern, right? We try to be spirit-led, and we try to discern, God, is this something you want? And by the way, we're still there. This meeting is one of those things for us. We're saying, I have been praying since I heard about it, the opportunity. Lord, if it is not your will, slam the door shut for all of us, show us red lights, wave the red flags, because we don't, it's like the people of Israel, we don't want to go where you're not going, God. And, a restart, we've done 16 or 17, what we call restarts or kind of replants of churches. It's a lot of work. It's not an easy thing to do, and so, there's a lot going on at the church. It's a lift, right? But what excites us so much about the possibility of what it could be is, one, to be honest with you, and some of this echoes the Oak Lawn story as well, the relaunch of kind of our Oak Lawn location, but is the core people here and the elder conversations we've had with the elders. I love when we're having conversations with leadership teams and people about reaching people for Christ, evangelism, the youth, Awana. I'm like, man, you're singing my tune right now. This is what we are all about. I told the elders in our meeting, we're seeing more impact with youth and young adults and children than we've ever seen before. Our youth camp, we do 4 days now. We had all the locations come together, and they do it 4 hours south. We had 400 plus youth and leaders all coming together from Chicagoland area, and they have an unbelievable time. The church raises, I don't know, $130,000, just people like me and you, to sponsor as many of these youth as we can. And so to hear that heartbeat in your church, I'm like, that's us. We want to reach. One of the questions, can we have one of our Moody PCM students help lead? I'm like, yes. Do you have more Moody PCM students? Do you have, what's working already? So the youth, the young adults, to me, the neighborhood, if you're in a neighborhood and you can see there's a need for a healthy church here, if there was a bunch of strong, healthy, bustling churches in Evergreen, I'd say, hey, they got it. We're going to root them on. We're going to cheer them on. We'll help however we can. But they got it. They're reaching people. But it seems like there's kind of like we experienced in Oak Lawn, it seems like there's a lack of a lot of strong, healthy, vibrant churches. And so, that excites us. We feel like the gospel needs to continue in this neighborhood, because I don't want it to just reach Evergreen. I want it to reach the neighborhoods that are surrounding Evergreen as well. So I think those are a few things. The team here in the core, the passion to reach people in our neighborhood, and the lack of kind of thriving churches in this area, to us is indicators that this is where we would want to be.
Alexander, also, by the way, killer shirt. I love the shirt. I can relate to that. While we're here, Evelyn here in the front had a question. So she was asking about missions and had a question about whether or not our locations are allowed with the 80% that they retain for kind of autonomous use, if they are allowed to support missionaries with that. And we didn't have necessarily a great answer for that.
Yeah.
So we deferred it to you.
Yeah. So they,
And
I said,
she has a couple
I actually
follow-up
told them,
things.
handle all the hard questions, and
Yeah.
I'll come in and handle like the lob the easy ones. Did you want to add more to that? No? Yeah, so they talked a little bit, Evelyn, right?
Yes.
We
So-
did talk about cities and how we handle missions and all that.
Yeah, and so I may have several family members that are current missionaries personally, right? My parents are with them right now in Spain. But, you know, if New Life was to, here's the challenge. The modern kind of missionary strategy has changed, and most churches are not supporting local missionaries. They have mission agencies help come alongside the mission. I think part of that is a lot of churches are shrinking, right? The average church in America continues to go from 70 to 60. It's going down and down and down. It's the first time it's kind of Christianity in America is kind of flattening out, maybe even taking a nudge up. But I think it's been a real burden on a real challenge for churches. If New Life was to adopt every missionary that came alongside with, you know, the 16, 17 restarts, we'd have, you know, 200 missionaries. And we believe in missions work. And so our answer is saying, hey, you know, come alongside the missionaries. I am not saying to anybody, don't support the missionaries that you're supporting. Support them. I've supported missionaries. We have a missionary couple down in Mexico that's like lives in the slums of the slums in this city called Querétaro, Mexico. Support them. I think that's part of our responsibility as Christians. But not everybody in this church will know the missionary that's being supported as well. And so I think that's a better one-to-one interaction. And then the things that we do with missions, other than the local stuff, is the international church planting. So we're currently planting, we have 2 churches in Spain. We're going to be launching a third, I don't know if it's this year or the start of next year, in a city called Torrelavega. And so that's part of what we as a church collectively give to. There's less than 1% of Christians in Spain. And we have 2 churches that have, I don't know, it's 300 people total or 4, and they're continuously baptizing people. So that's kind of our mission strategy currently.
We have missionaries who, for example, former pastor of here and wife. We have missionaries who were paid or unpaid, youth workers, etc. We have one that is second generation. They translated the Bible into another language in a communist country in Asia.
Amen.
The list goes on.
Yeah.
Including one couple who is in Mexico with, I believe, church building. So I'm missions chairman. We have never once in the 20 years I've been chairman missed a payment or reduced a payment to the missionaries, not once. Every time it's looked kind of iffy, people have risen to the occasion, given more, so that we could keep their support as was or increase it.
Yep.
Okay, my goal, and it's shared, I believe, by others here, is to obviously see every missionary continue to be supported. I understand that New Life, in a way, would not take on 100% of the missionaries. And I've already started talking to people to say, well, let's do an adopt a missionary type thing and see what we can do. But we're only about 11 active members right now, and we have 13 missionary units, meaning a couple would be a unit, okay? Plus we have a ministry, which I'll mention in a minute. So my concern is for those who are not adopted, and if part of that 80% could go to them. We can do our best to cover them, but I personally, and I think others too, would appreciate it if part of that 80% could go to those remaining missionaries, plus, ideally, the ongoing church here would live longer than those of us who are in our 70s and beyond. So and because not all our missionaries are 70s and beyond,
Yeah.
they're younger. So they're going to outlive us, which means they could outlive their support. So that's why it's beneficial to have a church be supportive. Okay, I'm going to mention that. And then the tangent is, annually we have had a baby for Southside Pregnancy Center, which is practically down the street from us. You could almost walk there, could walk there. And I would like to see that continue. It has not cost the church any money.
Yeah.
But we support them. And in fact, J.C. Rojas is on the board there.
Yeah.
So, and,
JC is one of the New Life pastors.
yeah, I didn't say that for them. But, yeah, so.
Do you know how we got connected here as well? Like, because we got connected about 2 years ago. It was actually through Hope.
My friend.
Yeah.
My friend.
Yeah.
I met Hope at SBC because we're both volunteers there.
Yeah. Yeah, so Hope is a lady, she's involved in the pregnancy center.
Amazing.
Amazing woman. She attends Oak Lawn. She's part of
Yes.
the Oak Lawn.
I visited Oak Lawn. I
Yeah.
was there the day that you were up there announcing.
Oh,
You
beautiful.
were first Sunday.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful.
I talked to you.
Yeah.
You may not remember me that
Yeah.
way, but I.
It was in the Alive building though, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
I do remember, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, now I'm here, ready to hear your answer.
Yeah. So the second one with regarding pregnancy center, baby stuff, that's an easy yes. That's not a challenge. We love that.
And can I just add to that real
Yeah.
quick with the pregnancy center? So last December, we had a Christmas offering where we raised a certain amount of money to give to the pregnancy center as well, too. So we do believe in the work that they do. We raise funds to support them as well. And Pastor J.C. Rojas, myself, we go out, we visit, we give, we try to speak and encourage people as well, too. And Hope Johnson is a big part of that process.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, and I want to be clear with you, right? Because we're putting our cards out. We're trying to be open and honest with what we do. And I applaud, the effort and the drive for missions, right? I think it's a great thing. What I told the elder team is I said, hey, that's not our practice to be able to do that, to be able to take on missionaries. I said, what we do, though, what we practically do is we challenge people to give to missionaries above and beyond, hey, believe, give, these people, mobilize people. And the church will oftentimes, we don't like to do it from the stage and from the pulpit because you'd have a different person fundraising every single week for something that is important to them. But we do, hey, we have no problem doing, hey, there's a meal afterwards, this missionary couple's in, or Evelyn's gonna tell the story of them. If you're interested in that, the church will sponsor the food. We love for you to go down and think about sponsoring this couple or this ministry or this pastor. So we do stuff like that all the time. We have tons of students that go to even short-term like missions like YWAM, and we fundraise for them. We don't usually do it from the pulpit, right? But we do it we'll say, hey, set up a table, we'll support you, we'll push it, if you want to have a night, and that's how we generally do it.
So what I'm hearing is, even if New Life would not themselves directly support missionaries, you are open to expressing the need for the report outside of service, maybe a meal or something like that. So we can ultimately aim to get all our missionaries covered with the support of New Life. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, and what we do historically with the missionaries is we will we don't want them. Once again, my dad's an MK, right?
Yes,
And so
I know.
his mom's a missionary.
I went to Moody too, by the way.
Yeah, right. So like, my grandmother is one of the best Christians I've ever met. Like, she's one of the, I hope my house is somewhere near hers in heaven because she just loves Jesus unbelievably. And so what we do is we generally give a gift to the missionaries on the way out. And so sometimes that's finishing out a year or 6 months or 8, whatever that looks like, to be able to support the missionaries because we don't want them to be cut and then go, hey, they need time to build that fundraising. And so we don't want to leave anybody blindsided. And so that's what we do historically with the missionaries is we cover them for 6 or however many months or a year and help them make sure that they can build up that fundraising that was lost. Yep.
And one of the things that I expressed to Evelyn is that, these missionaries, many of them, have experienced changes like this in their ministries and understand that it's God that supports them, not any of us individually in our efforts. We make the efforts that we can and the best that we can and represent what it is they're doing for the kingdom. But I was a youth pastor in Minnesota. They fired the pastor because of some inappropriate things happening and said, Oh, and by the way, when the new guy comes in, you will hand him your resignation. And then he gets to decide if you stay or go. Well, we had 4 kids, so this is news to me first, and then secondly, a change of mindset. But you have to trust the Lord that if you're doing what he wants you to do, he's going to take care of you. And that's true of our missionaries. That's true of whatever ministry that we're doing. And so it's hard to navigate through these things, but we do the best that we can and pray for the Lord's leading. And
Any other questions on this topic? We're going to go to the next one. Bethel question. Would New Life merge existing Bethel ministries such as high school, youth group, and the Awana program? We talked about this into the local assembly, or would those be expected to morph into existing? Okay, go ahead.
I want to know, after you do the restart, after it gets underway, on the average, how long before you know if it's successful?
I mean, usually what is successful in ministry, right? I mean, that's such a subjective question. But in regards of what generally people are talking about is like kind of new life within the church, right? Should use different words, but invigoration, thriving, there's a body, there's more people, right, is generally what people kind of talk about in that regard. Because I think Bethel is a success right now. I think Bethel is there's people here who love Jesus and have been faithful to the mission, right? But generally kind of, this is strategic, but generally kind of the rule of church planting, like what happens around the country, is whatever the launch Sunday number is, you're generally about half of that the next Sunday. And so you'll have a bunch of people come out to support and be a part of it. And, so we saw, how many on the launch day of Oak Lawn? So we went, did he tell the Oak Lawn story a little bit or no?
I did not, but I can tell a little bit.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so New Life Oak Lawn has always just been, a really good, strong, healthy, solid church. But a couple years ago, their location pastor had transitioned out. And so people went with him, which is typically normal. And so that local assembly eventually got down to about, I want to say maybe 40 to 50 people, about 15 to 17 kids. And as we prayed and asked if this was the Lord's will for Oak Lawn to continue, would God make it so? And me and Pastor Josiah stepped in. Pastor Josiah was preaching. It was 40 people, 17 kids, and he was going preaching at 4:30 p.m. on Sundays at New Life Oak Lawn. After we got involved and stepped in and relaunched the church, that first relaunch service, we had over 300 people attend. And I want to say probably the following weeks, it went down to about 200. But by God's grace, he's continued to add to New Life Oak Lawn. So as of today, we're probably averaging over 300 people who attend New Life Community Church Oak Lawn. So 2 years. Yeah, within 2 years. So the attendance has been kind of like that since 2024. Yeah. So it was, we relaunched that first Sunday of the relaunch, which was in September, I believe. We had over 300 people show up. And from that point on, it's been around the 200 range. And as recently as the past couple of months or the past 6 months or so, the Lord has just continued to add to that local body. And we've seen it over 300.
Yeah. So strategically what we do, just to give you a snapshot of what it generally looks like, is we generally try to bring, 40-ish people from other New Life locations or that live in the area to kind of help the core, bolster up the core, right? I think God entrusts people based on the foundation of leadership and health, right? And so we try to build up, take what's here, the people that are consistent, the core here, add some new lifers from either Oak Lawn or the Midway location, and specifically that live here. I'm not interested in pulling people that live in other communities. I want you to be able to invite people in the grocery store, at the park, neighbors that can say, hey, come down the street, my church is here. And then we choose a launch Sunday. We start kind of marketing and communicating, and so we'll do social media ads, we'll do word of mouth. I mean, we had people come because we were in the mall with flyers, and we were saying, hey, come, let me pray for you. And so we have an agreement with Moody Radio as well. My dad's program reaches, several million people through his Bold Steps radio program. And we have an agreement with Moody that we can use for free airtime after the program to be able to push launches. And so we actually got a bunch of people that said, I heard the radio, I heard the radio, I heard the radio. And then we do a bunch of flyers. And so we do an investment of, I don't know, 10 grand or whatever into mailers to every single neighbor in the area. And then we pray. That's what we do. We pray and we say, okay, we get things, as ready, as prepared as we can. And then we prayed. And, God has been faithful to be able to do it. We can't promise anything and say, hey, we do this, we get this type of return. But we believe that we can effectively, see a lot more people be involved in this local church.
And one of the things that helps as well, too, is Pastor Josiah kind of already talked about it, but just this core here, just the faithfulness of each and every one of you also helps. So as we come together and as we're praying together, and our hands are open to the Lord, you can't even fathom to think about what God can potentially move in this congregation. Tim and Connie were part of New Life Community Church Oak Lawn, and their leadership has been instrumental in just us seeing God entrust more people to come to that location and get baptized. I think last year, by God's grace, we baptized 30 people last year at New Life Community Church Oak Lawn. Tim and Connie are elders at New Life Oak Lawn, and they're instrumental in making sure that just that local body is a healthy local body where people can come and love Jesus.
How would it look for some of the other ministries of the church with New Life coming in, such as our existing worship team or like our current elders?
Yeah. We build with what is going on. We don't scrap and restart. We build with the existing leaders, the ministries, all of that type of stuff. So this was an easy question for me to answer when it was, do you want to continue on the high school in Awana? I'm like, absolutely, 100%. You have a great ministry stuff going. Sounds like there's a lot of kids that are reached through the Awana program that don't come to the local church. That's amazing foundation to build off of. And so they're aware of it. And here's the reality, right? You guys know this. I mean, this is what the elders talked about is, so when we come into a restart situation, generally it's, it can be a range of numbers, but 20 to 35 people, they still deeply love Jesus, but they're an older group of people generally, and their grandkids don't necessarily feel like they want to go to that church, right? It kind of feels like grandma's church or grandpa's church or something like that. That's not bad, right? That's just how it is. If this was, even this works with race as well. If the room is all white, then people of other racial groups feel a little bit like, hey, I don't know if this is my tribe. It's age too. I was at my brother's church. He's in the Army. He's a captain in the Army. And he's in Seattle. We went to go visit him. And we were at a church called, Oasis or something church. There was 300 20-year-olds. I felt out of place. I was like, where are the families? Where are the children? Where are people that are older than 25 in this room? There's young people. There's a couple the whole time rubbing back. I'm like, I just want to focus on Jesus. I don't want to look at what you're doing in the front. Come on, I want to. And so is that bad of me if I didn't go back to that church? No, my wife would have walked in that church and felt like, hey, there's not other young families. I want to connect with other young moms. I don't judge her for feeling that way or me feeling that way. It's just the reality of we're drawn to commonality, right? And so what I love about what would potentially happen here is we have a service at the Oak Lawn location that goes at 12:30. We would take some of that leadership, meaning Aaron and myself, and help pastor here. And so you would have me preaching, Aaron preaching, potentially my dad even in the rotation. He preaches. He's like, tell me how much you want me to preach, I'll preach. And so that helps as well to be able to, build stability. Aaron is black, I'm Hispanic, and something in Europe, okay? The DNA test keeps changing me. One year I'm Scandinavian, the next year I'm Irish, I don't know, I'm English, I don't know. The Lord will tell me when I get to heaven. But, when I was talking to Jeff yesterday on the phone, he says this church historically has never reached past Western. And you know what my heart would be is let's reach past Western and beyond. That we could see this church be white, black, Hispanic, old, young, all benefiting off of one another, because that's what heaven's going to look like. Now, we can't determine who God brings. Whoever God brings, he brings. But the fact that Aaron will be on stage and I will be on stage, both the age, race, all of these components played together, it will generally reach people that are younger. That's just what happens. Generally, what's on stage will be what's reflected in the congregation. And so we try to be intentional with our worship teams. They're not all young. They're young and they're old and they're this and they're that. Why? Because we want people out there to go, that's someone like me, right? So that's a little bit strategically how we do it and what we would want to see. I would love to be able to see this place. Can't determine it, but would love to see this place thriving at 150.
Just as a afterthought, I talked to two of the elders of different New Life churches. One was in Homer Glen, and the other one was in Oak Forest on the phone. And of course, Homer Glen just recently lost their pastor, and they declined in attendance as well. And I guess that's pretty typical as we talk about. Hopefully, that's not going to happen here. We increase. But it was just a joy to hear their voice and their vision, and the ones in Homer Glen where he says, we have a faithful group here, you know, and they'll grow.
I just preached at Homer Glen about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and they'll grow again, you know. And the one in Oak Forest, of course, was a new start, I believe. And so, you know, they're doing really well, it seems like, you know, talking to their alder, and they're excited about different ministries that they're involved in. So I was greatly encouraged and just and speak with them.
Yeah, and regarding the elders, like, you know, the existing elders forming in, that's partly based on your team, you know. We're trying to recruit Dave to the elder team, but he's like, man, give me a break, you know. I've been leading forever, so we're joking with Dave about him stepping on. But you know, sometimes people need breaks as well, and so we want to honor the existing, you know, elders. We have 3 elders right now at Oak Lawn, and we're raising up one right now that will be an elder in a few months. So don't try to rush it. The Bible says don't rush it, test the leadership, go slow. But we do think that a thriving church has a strong elder team.
Yeah.
So,
Personally committed to see all this thing through, and I'm waiting for the day when they're going to say, Dave, how would you like to be elder emeritus? And I'll say,
All the pay, none of the work. Yeah, right.
thank you, Jesus.
Dave, you may rotate off.
So, all right, let's go on to
Got a
quick.
couple questions.
Oh, there's more questions.
I was out in the hallway, so I don't know what was brought up, if anything, about Awana. My title is commander, but we're a team. And I'm just wondering, we normally start in October. People have already started to ask me, so I don't know, would those of us, okay. I just didn't know if those of us who were already running it, do we just go ahead with it, or, you know? and
Yes.
We have the 3 and 4-year-olds, so your son, please have him come. If he's not already involved in another.
my kid would love it.
My son did Awana also. You know what we haven't talked about is probably like specifically, because we've used this term like a relaunch and a restart, and there's this date of October floating out there when Pastor Steve retires and all that. The idea that has been floating around is that the actual relaunch would take place next year, probably around Easter time. So the ministry that is currently happening, what we envision is that it would continue happening. And like we've said, you know, Awana is a beautiful ministry, and we would love to see that continue. And it's a very effective ministry at reaching the community. And I think all of us were very impressed when we heard that, you know, a lot of the families who come to Awana aren't necessarily attending the church yet. And so there's just a really great opportunity right there for involvement in the future potentially. So
Great, we gotta get started then.
that's right.
Yep. Okay, next question.
Got another 2 questions.
Oh,
here.
you got, oh, sorry.
Next question, it leads into this one too. On behalf of the youth.
Are you Alex?
I'm the titular Alex.
Alex, great to meet you, Alex.
Good to meet you too. Leading into it, from the youth, we've been, for the most part, autonomous in the sense of we work closely with Pastor Steve directly to lead the youth, but it's been us as leaders who have made the decisions and chosen our direction. With New Life coming in, how would that look like transitioning into your guys' leadership with like how, because I know you mentioned that youth conference, like how
Yeah. I mean, once again, we wouldn't be making a bunch of big changes. We're coming in saying, what are you learning? What's going on? How many youth? I mean, I would love to connect you with, we have this is a great thing to say. We have our strongest youth ministry that we've probably ever had in New Life's history at this point right now. So we have a all-church youth team that's run by youth leaders. They check in with me every once in a while, but I'm like, go get them, Tiger, and they are just killing it. And they come alongside and they have regular meetings with, youth leadership across the board. New Life's model, though, is very contextual. And so we try to support as much as we can, but we know that the youth leaders that are on the ground are going to have some of the best insight into leading contextually for their youth as possible. So so we provide a lot of resources, a lot of coaching, and then those all-church events. The beautiful thing about those all-church events, so we do a big one in the start of the year that's more local, and then we do the camp in July. Yeah. And and then there's a bunch of local stuff. That mostly is run by our central youth team. So if you wanted to join and be a part of that, they're always looking for people to help. And all you have to do is raise some leaders up and send the youth. And so the beautiful thing is they're carrying so much of the lift. Now the local stuff falls on the local leadership, but you don't have to call the camp and figure out the rooms, and there's a whole team that's been running it, and every year they keep getting better and better. That's why we keep seeing more youth go.
It's another one of those places where I mentioned the collaboration that happens across New Life. It's another really beautiful example of that because it's not entirely organic. I mean, it's structured and they're purposeful about getting together. They do some very intentional things, but it's really cool the way that they all just support one another. They're always sharing ideas and strategies. What's working at one location, what's working at another. It's really cool, and I don't know a ton about. I don't know that I shared this with you, but I've been part of the New Life team for about a year and a half, going on 2 years. And I love seeing the strength of the youth program. So I don't have a lot of context for what it's been in the past, but what I see of it now, since having joined the team, is really quite amazing. And that spirit of collaboration that happens on the regular is just so cool. It's really great, and I'm sure you would thoroughly enjoy these guys.
And I would have you connect with them. So I'd have you connect with Mike, who leads the youth. There's about 300 people, but there's about 40 or 50 youth.
Yeah, 40.
And then at the Midway location, Abel's the one that helps lead the Midway location, and there's 130 or something like that. And so they're that's all they do. That's all they think about. And Mike's not on staff. He's just a leader that's been raised up.
He's just a leader
leaders.
who's just been raised up, but he's a tremendous young man.
Yeah.
He came in 2 years ago, part of the relaunch team. I meet with him. I coach with him. We talk through different ideas and visions. And I say, okay, here's the ball. He goes running. We actually started off with Mike and maybe 2 other guys and 4 youth the first youth night that we had. And today we have 8 youth leaders and over 40 to 50 youth in New Life Oaklawn. So.
Okay, I think we answered this already, number 7. This is about you, Alex, but oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, okay. All right.
That's great.
Good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
We
great.
can have continuation then. Good. All right. I think we already answered this. How is the membership handled at New Life? Would our members be absorbed into New Life with a merger, or would we have interviews be required? And you answered it this way. We would want to make this as simple as possible. We would not anticipate requiring every current Bethel member to go through the entirety of a new interview process. We'd simply wait or want current members to reaffirm that they desire to continue as part of the church and become part of New Life. So I think that pretty well answers it. I think we should ask the question, so how is members, okay, go ahead. All right, no, wait for Mike.
I was just wondering, so if you are head of the ministry, do you require that people have to be members? No?
You're off the hook. Again, no.
Another question, somewhere else? Did you have a question or not? We're going to just leave the mic with Evelyn.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
No, we're not. Sorry. Notice John is guarding the mic
This
here.
is not addressed previously, but with Awana, if we have fewer leaders than needed, would the New Life people support us and come and supplement who we have already?
Yeah, as we're getting into this kind of strategy of it, yeah, we're going to assess things and try to help. You know, we would start building a core. If this all goes through and October comes around, we'd start stepping in. We'd feel spiritual responsibility from God starting in October, right? I mean, we'd start talking and meeting before then, but you guys are under Pastor Steve. That's a spiritual authority and leadership here, right? And so we want to respect Pastor Steve and his leadership and the elders. And when we come in, we're just coming alongside. So it takes time to learn people, systems, what's going on, what's working already here, the neighborhood, the context. I mean, once again, I'm local, and Aaron's been in the area, and so we're aware of the neighborhood, but we want to get to know you guys. And then, we would start to help bolster up the ministries, expecting an influx of people. And so, but the launch, kind of relaunch, would happen in spring. You generally want to launch, kind of relaunch or restart a church, is the language we use in the fall, so like September, October-ish. But it takes time to do it, or in the new year before Easter. It's January in Chicago is not a good time to plant a church. Neither is the summertime, right? People are out, they're traveling, and so it takes a few months to be able to get things prepared. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to invite people for your big house, warming thing, and there's not food ready, like nothing's ready. And people are like, yeah, because they're going to give it one chance. They're going to give it one chance. And so we do some preview services. We try to make sure all the kinks are worked out with technology and that there's support so that when people come in, they feel like this is a well-run church. There's teams here. There's a place for me so people can go, I want to be here. This is my church.
Microphone.
If Awana's to start in October, would New Life people be able to step in October, is what you're asking?
Yeah, would New Life people be able to help starting in October to help launch Awana? I mean, we have it every year, but would there be people from New Life who could supplement whoever would come back for Awana?
Yeah.
To help?
My answer would be possibly, right? Because once again, we haven't talked with anyone at New Life outside of this team about this. Because we don't want to start telling the whole church about something before there's a decision that's made here. We want to go, hey, guess what? Evergreen, this is going to happen. And then the vote tomorrow's a no. Then we've just kind of excited people about ministry and stuff that they're not going to be a part of. And so we don't want to get ahead of that. The vote to us is on Sundays the big deal in regards of this congregation and leadership saying yes to us. Then we can start getting into the fun stuff of the details and strategy and all of that type of stuff, recruiting and timelines. Mm-hmm.
And I believe, Barbie, you've answered this before, but you do have adequate staff in order to launch Awana, is that correct? All right, okay, good.
And I know,
Go ahead.
I already know of one team that has a community service requirement. She asked for your number this week, so.
Yeah, and once again, this is in the future, but let's say this all goes through. We could potentially partner with the Oak Lawn location on some of these things, because Oak Lawn's about 13 minutes away from here. And so Calvary is the church we're renting from, big, beautiful white building. They really are impressed or very thankful for the way that New Life is doing ministry. That's not a gun, I don't think. And so they keep wanting to learn from the things that we're doing, and we're trying to help. So Aaron's been meeting with Pastor Daniel and all their elders and stuff. But they've asked, hey, maybe we can do it together. So, we're open to partnering, and, you can kind of partner volunteers and leaders to do it together and then do one big, and it's not far away. It's 12 minutes away, on Google Maps, so very close.
Okay, let's see. Okay, interviews. So we'd encourage membership, of course, and And I guess there's an interview process by the elders and the pastor. Is it pretty much the way it would be?
So here's a lot of churches are moving away from membership. Let me tell you the benefit of membership. Why churches generally do membership is because there's the kind of American structure that, some churches have is every member has a vote. And so everything is voted on kind of like America is in a democratic system. Everyone has a vote if you're a member, and then it's a consensus, right? We told this to the elders, let me be clear. I don't believe that's the ideal leadership model or a biblical model. I don't think it's wrong. I just don't think it's the biblical model of the church. I think we talked about this in one of the meetings. We're going through Deuteronomy right now. If they did consensus-based driven leadership, they would have never gotten into the promised land. And actually, God goes, 8 of the 10 of you are saying no, so all of you will not make it in because you didn't have faith for what God was calling you to do. And so we believe in elder-led leadership, a first among many amongst an elder team, but we believe in council-driven leadership. And so you'll never have me or Aaron make a decision and say, this is it, everyone get in line. I think that's just bad leadership. And so I think good leadership is a team of people that are called by God and called by the Holy Spirit to come together, that listen to the ministry leaders and people that are best on the ground. They know the Awana, they know the youth, and then they make decisions together. But it's through clear authoritative leadership, not consensus-based leadership. And so we don't generally, we had membership in the past. We don't generally have, we don't have voting members, and we generally don't have membership. We flirt around with the idea of membership because we like the commitment that membership brings. Usually you have to say, here's the expectations of the church, here's what we want you to commit to. But what we do right now is we take people through what we call as our First Steps books, which is a 10-week course or experience or class, if you want to go through that. And people are challenged to start committing to the church through action steps. So get involved in a group, get involved in a ministry, start giving. And so our hope is that when they come out of that, they're living more like Christ and more committed.
Okay, next question. Here's a question of clarification needed. To the utilization of existing and remaining funds, it was suggested that a portion of the funds be utilized to give to our existing missionaries, since New Life will not be taking on that support. We also intend to provide moving expenses and substantial gratuity bonus for a retiring pastor who will be leaving in October. And your response was yes, we're comfortable with both those plans. We're supportive of Bethel using a reasonable portion of its existing funds to bless the missionaries. It has been faithfully supported, especially since New Life would not be assuming these ongoing commitments in the same way. We've discussed a lot of this already. We are also fully supportive of providing Pastor Steve with moving expenses and a bonus in recognition of his faithful years of ministry.
Yes and yes, and when it comes to Pastor Steve, I'm going to leave it up to a conversation with the elders, with Dave and John. I know you were there as well.
Some are very anxious for the moving part.
Not true.
And I want you to know, Pastor Steve has been even willing past October to do whatever he needs to do to stay around, with his time to be able to help support the transition in it. Because there's a whole other back end, boring end of this, which is legal and real estate. That we all have people working on because, it's above our pay grade and just a bunch of details, and you get drowned in the paperwork. And so sometimes you need people legally to be able to sign for that. And so Pastor Steve and Dave have said, yeah, we're here. So we'll navigate any of that type of stuff. But yeah, I'm going to lean on, Dave and John and to help determine what they feel like that's a blessing. We want to be a blessing for 18 years of faithfulness to Pastor Steve. So. Yeah.
And we really appreciate Pastor Steve. Thank you, Pastor Steve, even just for setting all of this up. Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege to get to know you. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
It's
seriously.
been amazing. It's been amazing to get to know you and just build and have a relationship with you. So thank you for all that you have done, brother.
Yeah, and there's pastors that, this is unfortunate and, breaks your heart, but there's churches a lot of times where the pastor's just like, hey, I'm done, I'm gone, you guys handle it. And to me, that's, it's not taking care of the bride of Christ. It's not taking care of the body. And so he and the team have been super intentional. He's moving details, starting, his next chapter, but he's been fully bought in, fully present, fully here to make sure that you guys are cared about. And it's because he so deeply cares about you. And so, yeah, so we're thankful, for 18 years of how you've loved this church and cared for them.
All right. This is our last one. Presently, there are 2 organizations utilizing our facilities at the rental bases. One is Chai Tung, and rents parking spaces through the end of the year. The other is CPR training downstairs, which we have not heard them too loudly, just a little bit.
I heard them. They scared me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, of course, your response was, you already have that. And I found that out when I went to the Homer Glen location. I saw that they had Lifeline and cheerleader thing, and so, so I saw, well, there's proof of that, so.
Yeah, we have a bunch of rental agreements, and we don't partner with anybody that wouldn't align with our biblical beliefs and things like that. But
Yeah.
sometimes it can help a church, in tough neighborhoods or big buildings, and so we have space sharing agreements and opt outs and all of this type of stuff. So we're super comfortable with that. That's not a challenge. We're used to owning and we're used to renting. So Oak Lawn rents right now from Calvary. It's a great arrangement, and so we're used to being in that, having that, navigating that, and have a good team to support all that.
Yeah. Is there any other questions that you might have? All right, Madeline?
I have a couple, but I guess I'll let Dale go first. Oh, Dale goes? Oh, you didn't? Oh, I thought you. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so.
What's your name, by the way?
Madeline?
Madeline. Good to meet you, Madeline.
Okay, I was wondering, number one, we do a ladies' Bible study. Okay, so I was wondering, it's on Tuesdays in the morning. Is that going to be a problem? Because we would have to have access to the basement and the TV and the kitchen area. No, you're good. Okay, awesome. Does it matter what we do? Because we've been doing Gary
Nope.
Hamrick. So okay, so do you want to approve it first or?
We trust you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I
I mean, down the road, we'll start. We don't, you have to manage things eventually down the road. I mean, we trust what's going on. We know there's good leadership here. I mean, you're not, teaching from the Book of Enoch or something. So we trust.
Last year.
That was last year. You guys got through that already. So, as a guy, yeah. So I mean, we trust that fact, and then we just, when it comes to groups down the road, we just make sure they don't all have to be on the same groups. On the same topic, we just make sure that it's legitimate topic. Sometimes you have newer group leaders, and we just want to make sure that what they're going through is biblically based and sound, and we don't want to mislead people either. So there is a process, but for right now, you're more than good to go.
Cool. So the other thing is, when Steve leaves, you guys are just going to come right in, or is there going to be a time where we're going to have other people preach?
Our plan is to come right in October and to start assuming. For us, it doesn't affect, so I preach every week. Aaron preaches, maybe every other week. It depends on the schedule. We have the schedule built out all the way to the end of the year. This doesn't affect our preaching schedule because when we preach at Oak Lawn at 12:30, that's 2.5 hours from 10, and it's 13 minutes. Aaron, right now, he mentioned, I think it was Dave mentioned that he talked to one of the elders at the Homer Glen location. We had to unfortunately step a pastoral couple down at that location just because their marital health wasn't in a great place. And so, the congregation has shrunk down to about 40 people. Me and Dan have been involved in it, and actually Aaron has. So because we have 35 pastors on our team, we can flex some of the time. So Aaron's been going there in the morning and already preaching there at Homer Glen. His commitment ends in October, but going there, preaching in the morning, and then he comes afterwards and preaches at Oak Lawn. And the Oak Lawn people wouldn't know. They wouldn't, know any difference. And so whether it's Aaron or myself, even when I'm preaching at Oak Lawn at 12:30, I'm usually at Midway for the first 2 services. So,
right. And when Pastor Josiah preaches at Midway, he's preaching 3 times for 3 services anyway. So to preach a service at this location and a service at another location is actually still less than what he would have to preach on a week that he's at Midway. So it works out really well.
Okay, so you did answer, so we would stay at the same time, at 10?
Yes.
Okay, the other thing is, speaking of preaching, does everybody do the same topic? Like, every pastor preaches
Yep.
the same? Okay.
So the way we do it is probably about half the year we're all on the same passage, and then this is rough, but the other half of the year there's pockets, like the summer, where the pastors can choose what they want to preach. The reason is that's come from feedback from our team that, hey, sometimes there's local things that we feel like we need to address, and so we want to give our pastoral team the freedom to be able to do that. So what did we preach through this summer? I forgot. 1 John? 1 John. But pastors have preached through Revelation and this and all of the different stuff. We just did something cool. So in August, we do a pulpit swap. And so all of our pastors rotate with one another because we want the locations to be unified and realize, New Life is bigger than just this location and bigger than just this pastor. We have a whole team that's involved in this behind the scenes. So Aaron was at 2 other locations. I was at 2 other locations for a week. And it also gets to bless the congregation with a voice that they don't always get to hear, and sometimes you got to hear from someone else, the same thing or a new word. And so it's been a real blessing to our church. We jump in September, we jump into a 2-month series through the book of Deuteronomy. And then we jump into the book of Joshua for 3 weeks. Joshua chapter 1, Joshua chapter 2, Joshua chapter 3, 2-week financial series, and then we jump into Christmas series in December.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
What are your plans for the parsonage next door, or has that been discussed?
No plans for the parsonage. So the church has several different parsonages that New Life Community Church. Some of them our pastors live in. Some of them we use for groups, and so I don't know what condition it's in, but we can use for groups, and you can have groups meet in there. I mean, we get to this is if the location really grows into what we believe it is. But like at Oak Lawn right now and at the Midway location, our biggest, and these are my favorite problems to deal with, but we have a lot of growth issues. So like Oak Lawn right now is 300 people, but it's kind of tapping at that percentage level where it's hard to invite new people because it's so full. That's also with groups. We don't want people to just be on Sunday morning and go, oh, I like Pastor Aaron. We also want them to know the person that's sitting next to them. And so at Midway's a much larger congregation, but we have, about 1,200 people in groups every single week. And we have an 84,000 square foot building, and we have trouble fitting them in the building because every single room is filled with people. So I think, is it next week or 2 weeks from now, we do our groups push. We launch in September. We try to get as many new people as possible plugged into groups. So that's what I was just at. I was just with all the group leaders from all of New Life, speaking to them, encouraging them, giving them a word, not to be known for their leadership, but to be known for their love. And then they all do breakouts after that, with the ministries, men's, women's, Awana, all of this stuff. They do breakouts afterwards. So I mean, if this continue, if the location we are, get 50% of groups, you're talking about, a lot of groups. And so people generally want a room. As much as you can meet in an auditorium, they generally want a room. And so that may be the purpose of it. We'll kind of see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned that there's the restart that more officially takes place in around Easter, and as well as you guys coming in October. Would you guys bring in the 40 or so people around October, or would that be seen more in April around Easter?
Probably more gradual.
Sometime in between.
Okay.
The new year would be, I would want to work through a calendar backwards is generally what we do. And we have a team that's done this, 17, times. So there's a whole team that we have a whole process of doing it. But once again, they don't even know yet. And so it's a big decision to change from where they're at. And so we don't, just to be clear, I don't want people from Oak Lawn that are, closer to Oak Lawn coming here. I want the people that are as close as possible, and it's the natural, so they can invite their neighbors. And so I want to tell them, don't come. If you live in Burbank, don't come. Because some people will go, they love to start. That's their heart. And I just say, hey, I appreciate that, but keep serving here. There's people that need you here. But I think we're going to be able to hive off a good core from both Midway and Oak Lawn.
The other thing to remember, too, is you guys as a congregation have been talking about this for what I assume would be a good minute. As Pastor Josiah has mentioned, New Life really doesn't know anything about it. So even to imagine who those 40 would be is going to take some processing time with these congregations. so that they'll be able to get on board, sign on. So even though the preaching component would begin in October, it would take a little bit of time because everybody on the New Life side is going to just be hearing about it. Again, assuming that the vote goes through tomorrow.
Yeah, and the vote's the big thing to us. I mean, there's due diligence on the back end, but the big level due diligence that we do is, one is the church in debt. That's something that scares us off sometimes. I mean, you'll have churches that are just crazy in debt, big or small, just a lot of debt. By God's grace, New Life Community Church as a whole is not in any debt. So we have zero debt. So we own all of our buildings outright. We have no debt. We have healthy measures. We do an outside audit every single year. We don't have to do an outside audit. Other nonprofits do. Churches don't. But we pay $15,000 to $30,000 a year for a extensive audit on all of our finances that gets approved by an outside financial team. Why? Because you just want to be above reproach. There's too many churches that have fallen for financial reasons, sexual reasons, power issue reasons, and we just would rather be safe than sorry.
Okay. Okay, you have another question? Go ahead, Evelyn.
This is your limit.
And I have two.
We can go out for coffee too, This is not the end of our, we're
Okay.
more than happy to answer any
Okay.
questions, but we'll
Two
be around too.
questions. One, what happens when Mark Job is no longer head pastor? And number two, head elder, I should say. And what, if any, might be your thoughts about this building in terms of anything happening to it physically? Like remodeling, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so question one, what would happen when Mark Job's not the, what language did you use? Kind of the key leader. Well, he's actually currently not the senior pastor of the church. So when he transitioned 7-8 years ago into Moody, the church's leadership came together and said, we want Josiah to be, we have like a lead team of like 7 pastors, a leadership team of 7 pastors. They said, we want Josiah to be the lead pastor, which was pretty shocking to me. As I told you a little bit about my story, like I had wrestled with being a pastor just in general. And so that was my commitment to God. I'll say yes to this. So I didn't expect myself to be in greater leadership at this point. And so he's been, his title has been senior pastor while he's at Moody, and my title has been lead pastor. When he transitioned out of Moody in July and stepped in, he said, I am not stepping back into the senior pastor position. I'm taking on the title of founding pastor, and I'm supporting Josiah's leadership. And so he's full-time at the church. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of drive. Him and my mom are celebrating 40 years of marriage in Europe right now. They usually go to Europe about 1 month out of the year. He sees his mother and his sister and our missionaries and churches out there. And so, so they're celebrating that. The thing my mom said, though, as they celebrated, the first time they celebrated their anniversary 40 years ago, they traveled and slept in tents. And my mom said, I will celebrate with you, but not in tents. She said, we need to do hotels, at least. So he's committed to the church. He transitioned out of Moody. He loves Moody Bible Institute, but his true passion is the kind of tip of the spear, the local church. And so he wants to spend his rest of his years building the local church. And so he invests into our team. He preaches on a regular basis. He wants to be more involved in the international church planting. And so, yeah, he's not 62 revving down. He's 62 ready to take on, hell with a squirt gun, so. Yeah, building, I was telling Aaron, and once again, this is getting down the road, but I sent Aaron some, ChatGPT AI photos of, keeping the beautiful historic nature of this building and trying to incorporate a modernized element to it. And, I mean, I can't show you the photos because you guys wouldn't be able to see them, but I thought they were pretty cool. And so I thought it did a great job of preserving the room, but updating the room at the same time. I would love to, I think you guys would get excited if you saw them, but I would love to be able to update, you got to price everything out, but I'd love to update the auditorium and the kids areas, like 2 of the main areas. Really make that space when they come down there, go, wow, we really value kids here. And so Aaron saw the photos. Did they look cool?
Yeah, they were really cool, especially the kids area. My
Yeah.
wife loved the kids area, so yeah, it was really cool.
So that was just us messing around with AI, but it, it helps give a pretty good picture. I think sometimes you have to create a picture of what could be for you to start believing, for what God can do in that. So
Well, we definitely need lighting upgrades. Okay. Up on the screens there, you're going to see, this isn't exactly, we may tweak this yet this afternoon, but this is basically the resolution that we're going to be voting on tomorrow. New Life Community Church in Bethel shall be merged into a single corporation. New Life shall be the surviving corporation of the merger. I authorize the church board to finalize the merger between New Life Community and Bethel Bible Church. So that's basically what you're going to be voting on tomorrow. It may be tweaked slightly, but that's basically it. For us as leaders, I think John and I and Pastor are all on board for this. We'd recommend it. We said that we thought it should be at least a 66% percentage of approval. We understand from New Life, they are looking for 75% approval. Is that correct?
The lawyers.
Well, the
I
lawyers.
was like, I don't know.
Lawyers are, I'm sorry.
That would be attorney's preference. That doesn't mean that it has to be that way.
I didn't drown in the legal documents. They sent me like so many legal documents. We have a Christian attorney. She's used by some of the biggest Christian ministries in the area. Moody uses her, and so she's a strong believer. It's a Christian law firm, and so yeah, that's who we use. So she helped prepare the documents. Their team helped prepare the documents for us and for Bethel.
We're prayerfully hoping for a 100%. We really are. New Life is a conglomerate of 20-some-odd Bethels. They're independent in ministering to their communities, but they're all joined together for the ministry of the preaching of the gospel, spreading the gospel, bringing new people to Christ. We're kind of hopeful that it's a 100% vote. Will it be? I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow.
It's a change. It's obviously, it's not going to be, well, we never did it that way before. It's going to be some of that. It's going to be different. It's going to be different, but different is not bad. Different can be very good, so it's not going to be exactly the same way. Okay, but they bring a lot to the table. And I think it's beneficial to us as a congregation.
Can I finish by saying this? There's 10,000 churches a year that are closing, 3,000 that are opening. Unfortunately, in our area, a lot of the churches are being converted into mosques. I was telling Jeff on the call yesterday that we have an agent that works with the church, and he has to be impartial in some of these things that he works with, but he says there's a lot of money, and he said, I don't want to lead by fear, but he said, the Muslims they have a lot of money and they're buying up every single church. So we used to rent from a building in Berwyn. That building's now a mosque. And, the more that I drive, towards Oak Lawn, Chicago Ridge, it breaks my heart to see these churches that have been built for, 60 years, 100 years that are now converted totally from the inside to face Mecca and are preaching something that is against the gospel, that's leading people to slavery. And so I don't think that's a reason to vote yes by any means. Let me tell you my vision, what I hope for this place. My greatest joy in relaunching Oak Lawn has been being able to see people like Tim and Connie, the joy that they've been able to have by seeing tons of people getting baptized, the kids ministry flourishing, 50 youth being sent, groups, more people than ever in groups. That's like my greatest joy to be able to see that, because I know how many of you have been faithful to hold on, like Pastor Steve. And I want that ministry to continue. I want to see you guys. I want to see, in sometime, so many months in the future after we relaunch, that this place is packed out, that we're celebrating people getting baptized up front, that we're making new friends and having growth problems. That, hey, this person, we need more groups, Pastor Aaron. There's so many people, and we need to raise up more leaders, and we need to, Awana's growing, and all of these things. That's my heart, and I hope that we'd be able to come in here, and then Pastor Steve would be able to come back after some time, stand in the back of the room. And would be able to just thank God for his faithfulness and him holding on, continuing to lead when I'm sure there's many times that, you could have walked away or, said, hey, I'm done with this or this and that. I know it's not easy to be a pastor. I know it's not easy to be an elder, carry that weight. But for him to be in the back of the room and see what God has continued on because of his faithfulness and your faithfulness, that would be worth it. So.
Well, that basically concludes our question and answer. Is there any last comments that anybody wants to make? Now I'm going to ask our pastor to close us in prayer.
My privilege. Lord, you're a good, good Father, and we're grateful to be your children. And our desire is to see your light, your truth continue on here in Evergreen Park and the surrounding community. And so we want to do what you want us to do and carry it on as individuals as well as a church. Thank you for New Life and what you're doing in and through them, and Bethel Bible Church, and Bethel Baptist Church, and Faith Ministries, all that we're a part of and has been our heritage. Lord, help this place to continue to reach out to this community with the good news of the gospel. And we'll give you the praise and glory for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Great to meet all you guys. Yeah, it's great to be here with you guys. And whatever happens, we're cheering on Bethel, okay? We're friends no matter what. Don't avoid me if you see me at Jewel. We're still united in Jesus no matter what happens. We love you guys.
At the Jewels.
At the Jewels. With what?
Right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's a great group. Appreciate your faithful leadership.
Oh, good. Good.
It's a blessing.
This answered a lot of questions for those who had the most. There'll be some who didn't even come. We're fine. We'll be fine.
There was a good spirit in the room, though. I mean, I'm so thankful for one of the things I think that we've been very impressed by is just
You get it out there.
absolutely,
And some people learn different ways. Maybe you can hand them the piece of paper with the answers to questions, and that just doesn't register.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
They need to walk it through, and that's fine.
It's great to get to know and I got to figure out if this is
Not done, but yeah, no, I
Yeah, I never one of my professors said, was this one of the, was this like suggested language?
We took it out and we were
That's right.
and then anytime I said,
Yeah. I would imagine.
Well, and it's by God's grace.
yeah.
How many times? Right? How many times? How many Mondays?
We'll figure all that out.
I heard a pastor say,
All right.
I don't take Mondays off. I take Fridays off. Because Mondays I'm beat up.
Right, yeah.
Why would I want that if